Hey everyone, it's Molly from the Feed. Today I am going to be making a delicious, comforting Zuppa Toscana filled with pepperoni, sopressata, potatoes, kale, a little bit of heavy cream for some decadence. It's going to be the perfect dinner for the chilly fall days that we are starting to experience. And we're going to be making that with our Fiorucci 100% natural uncured pepperoni and uncured sopressata. So Fiorucci has been around since 1850. So for the past 170 years, they've been making these amazing products, so full of flavor. The recipes are sort of the same generation to generation. And having a pack of this in the fridge is such an easy weeknight dinner hack. There's so much flavor, it lasts forever, and it's so delicious. So October is actually Italian Heritage Month, and while I have no official Italian heritage personally, I'm married into a big Italian family. So the majority of our cooking relies on Italian recipes and flavors. That's what we eat a lot of at home. That's what my son prefers. That's what my husband prefers. And that's what I sort of love to cook. So I always have some of this Fiorucci sopressata and pepperoni on hand. I add it to so many things: pizzas, soups, sauces. It's natural, it's long lasting, it's affordable, but it's gonna add a ton of flavor to so many different dishes, and a little bit is gonna go a long way. So that's gonna be the base of our soup, and then we're gonna go in with a diced onion, some diced garlic, some celery, some fresh rosemary, red pepper flakes, a little bit of all-purpose flour to thicken things up. I have russet potatoes, some chicken stock, our nice fresh lacinato kale, which will go in at the very end, and then some white wine just for a little flavor. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're gonna render that pepperoni and sopressata. So I have a cold pan here, which is going to really allow us to render all of that delicious flavor. So I'm starting in a cold pan, and I'm going in with our diced pepperoni and diced Fiorucci sopressata, and I'm just going to turn this to medium heat, and I'm gonna let this render for probably about 5 minutes. It's obviously already cooked through, so I am just sort of crisping it up, bringing out that flavor to build the base of our soup. So now that the pepperoni and sopressata have rendered, I'm just going to use a slotted spoon to set this aside. We're going to add this back to our soup at the end of the cooking time. So I'm using a slotted spoon because all of this rendered fat is flavor, so I want to reserve that in the pan. And if you leave a couple bits in the pot, no stress. You can see this got so nice and crispy, and it smells unbelievable. Okay, so I'm gonna add just a tiny bit of olive oil to our pan, about 1 tablespoon, and I am going to go ahead in with our diced onion, and we're gonna let this cook for probably about 5 minutes. I don't want it to take on too much color. I just wanted it to soften and sort of soak up all that flavor. Okay, our onions are looking great. I'm just going to add a little bit of red pepper flakes, our fresh rosemary, our garlic, a nice pinch of kosher salt, a little bit of freshly ground black pepper, and our celery. And we are going to let this cook for just about 2 minutes. I'm just sort of waiting to see if I smell that garlic and that rosemary. I just want to make sure those flavors really start to marry together. This smells unbelievable. I'm just going to go in with our flour. And again, this is just going to help us to thicken up our soup. Totally optional. If you don't mind a thinner soup, or if you're gluten-free, you could totally skip this, but I kind of like the little bit of body that it adds. And I'm gonna cook this for about 2 minutes. I'm just sort of waiting to smell that flour until it's sort of like toasty and nutty. And then we will go in with our white wine. Okay, in we go with our white wine. Just gonna make sure to scrape up all that goodness on the bottom of the pot. And we'll let this cook for about 1 minute, just cook off that alcohol. And you can already see we're getting this really nice creamy texture. Now for our chicken stock. So I'm gonna let this come up to a boil. Once it reaches a boil, I'm gonna reduce it to a simmer and we will pop in our potatoes and our soup is pretty much done. Okay, so our soup came to a boil. I reduced it just to a gentle simmer. I'm going to add our potatoes. And we're just gonna let these simmer. That's gonna soak up all that amazing flavor for about 15 minutes and just until they're tender. So our soup's been simmering for about 15 minutes. Our potatoes are nice and tender. I'm just gonna go in with our chopped kale. It looks like a lot, but it's gonna cook down. And then our reserved pepperoni and sopressata. We're gonna just let this cook for about 5 more minutes, just until this kale is nice and bright green. Okay, everything is all set. The last thing I'm gonna add, I turned the heat off, is just a little bit of heavy cream. Again, totally optional. I think it adds a nice little bit of richness and kind of rounds out all the flavor. We'll just stir this through and we'll plate it up. So I just added a little bit of the reserved crisped up pepperoni and sopressata. I'm gonna add a little bit of red pepper flakes, some fresh parsley to brighten this up, and just a little bit of Parmesan cheese too. Okay, I stole a little taster portion before I serve everybody else, which is like the story of my life, but let's give this a try. It's so good. You're really gonna love this recipe. Could not be easier. You can get all the details on thefeedfeed.com. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you soon. Bye.